Hey, it's Brock with Straight Line Delivery, coming to you today to talk about CDL hotshot flatbed truck versus non-CDL, 26,000 pounds or less, and how I came along and how I got into this business and why I do what I do now. So I started this business with a Sprinter, so 10,000 pounds or less. No drug tests, no special licensing, no logs. Just jump in it and go. And that's what attracted me to the business, because even if I couldn't do it, somebody else could. When I started my business, I had a full-time job. I was a carpenter. So it was important to me that anybody could kind of jump in the truck and take care of it, and I would kind of do it on the weekends or when I had time. And that worked out great. And what happened was I had a solid contract with somebody. Actually, it's an example I use all the time. If you've got something that's too good to be true, well, then it probably is. Eventually, somebody's cousin, and that was me, I was the cousin, here's how much money, another family member that is shipping freight and how much they're paying a trucking company to do that. And then they say, well, hey man, if I bought a van or a truck, could I do it? And the family member's like, yeah, I don't care who does it as long as somebody does it. So that's how I got the job. And what I always caution people is, if you're hauling freight with a handshake contract or hauling for somebody and it's a little too good to be true, it may be because somebody's cousin one day, and I was that guy, will come along and ask to have the freight, and then the family member will give it to them, and then you'll be out. So I did that for a while when I first started out, and then I ended up being the one that was out because somebody else's family member decided that they wanted to do it and take over the whole, shipping process, and I was out. So anyway, I started with that because it was so attractive and so easy to do, and anybody could do it. And it's just like anything else. I had basically space for 3 skids. I could haul 3 skids at a time, and up to I want to say 3,000 pounds. So I would get loads out to Oklahoma, Texas from Ohio, and then getting loads back was tough. I never really got loads back. And then when that contract ended, I've got this van, I've got the payment, I've got the guy that likes to work and drive it. I just don't have any freight. So I signed on with Panther Expedite, a few other places where I got freight from, and they paid a little bit here and there, but it just wasn't enough. So I thought, well, I see flatbed hot shots around. This was 10 years ago, here and there. I also see a lot of flatbed full-size trucks that don't look like they need the entire length of the truck. So my thought was, all right, if I can get a truck that I plate for 26,000 pounds or less, I could drive it, this guy could drive it, we could keep the same kind of deal going that we've got now, and I can keep my regular job. So I can kind of dip one toe into the trucking world, but not have to be totally committed to just trucking, because I didn't know what I was doing just yet, So I got a 2000 F350 with the 7.3, and a 25-foot Corn Pro gooseneck flatbed trailer with rams. So you could pull a pin out and jack the back down, and the rams came off of that. So it's pretty simple, really cheap, easy to get into, and I think we could haul around 10 or 11,000 pounds. So I started calling and getting freight, and yeah, the freight paid a little bit more because it weighed more. You had to tarp it, and maybe you could get 2 pieces of freight on, whereas they definitely wouldn't fit in the Sprinter. So I ended up selling the Sprinter. I've got this truck now. Well, that starts to come along and work pretty good. And then I add another truck. I buy a '07 Chevy with a Duramax and Allison transmission, which had a lot more power than the Ford, got better fuel economy, just operated better, all across the board really. So we start hauling freight with that, and I'm having problems now with insurance companies. And this is what I really wanted to touch on, why I do not any longer do 26,000 pound and less non-CDL A freight. And here's why. Number one, it's harder to find good paying loads. I mean, loads that are 25 feet or less and only weigh 10,000 pounds, most people want to partial that. Now, sometimes you'll find good paying freight that's important, so it doesn't matter what size it is, they need it there. This is moving something from point A to point B. It's really no different than mailing a letter. If you think about it, if you want to mail something to somebody and you don't care when it gets there, what does it stamp? 50 cents? There you go. Now, it's going to be there tomorrow or the next day or maybe even the next day, who cares? And you really can't say much about it because you paid 50 cents. Now, if you want it there the next day, you're talking like $4, right? And if you want it guaranteed overnight and they sign for it and you make sure you get it there, that's like $7 or $8. So this is absolutely no different. So I've hauled freight that paid crazy money on my 25-foot, 10,000 pound, here's a 14,000 pound GVW hotshot. But more or less, it was harder and harder to find freight. And it was harder and harder to find insurance. That was the main thing I was running into. Insurance was getting really expensive for what I thought we were doing. You know, we're hauling a bunch of rusty pipes and machines and stuff like that. I mean, it's nothing special. Why is insurance so much? So I met with an agent, because everybody will say, yeah, we can cover you. We'll do hot shots. We do this, we do that. Everybody wants to sell you insurance. But the truth is, most of them can't work with you. And a guy was nice enough to take me out to lunch and explain to me, here's what I see as an agent, all right? If you have, like the Sprinter, for instance, that's pretty much a work truck, all right? That's gonna be used for work, and that's pretty much it. If you've got a non-CDL hotshot, well, anybody can get plates for 26,000 pounds and put a trailer behind it, haul a bobcat or a car or hay or whatever. You see farmers doing it all the time. And here was this main thing. These guys have not passed any test to prove that they know what they're doing. So you could take somebody who can't drive a truck without a trailer behind it. How hard do you think, and it's just human nature, how hard do you think a dispatcher is going to work for that truck to make a lot less money, no matter how well they work, no matter how well they do? You can't make as much money on one of those trucks. Now, I've had some fantastic contracts, don't get me wrong, where I only needed 24 feet of space and I never hauled a load more than 6,000 or 7,000 pounds. Paid great, paid round trip money. But when that guy flakes out, and I don't care what kind of contract you've got, eventually they're going to fail you at some point. You're going to have to find freight for that truck as the owner of the truck or the owner of the company, just like I was. That became a lot harder. Insurance doesn't like it. They're suspicious of it. Hard to find freight for. And just think of it, it's the most, basic concept in the world. The more linear feet you have and the more weight you can take, the more money it's worth. So what I encourage is a minimum of 40 flat feet, and I don't care if the ramps fold up and make the last 5 flat, or you got 40 feet of flat deck and slide out ramps, or a hydraulic tilt ramp, doesn't make any difference. 40 feet long, 102 wide, and be able to haul as close to 20,000 pounds as you can. Now, you may not want to do that all the time, but why I say that is this. A lot of customers, brokers that you deal with, whether they're a direct shipper or they're a broker, they may categorize freight as it's 20,000 pounds or less. Okay, well, this truck can handle 18. I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to chance it, so they don't give you the freight. I've had trucks that can handle over 20,000 pounds go in to pick up a load that's 20,000 pounds or less, and it's like 12,000 pounds. And they're like, my God, we could have hauled 2 of these. But they just don't know, and that gets lost in communication between the shipper, the broker, and you, or if you're dealing with the direct shipper, a lot of times they just go, hey, look, we just give you roundabout numbers. We can't guarantee that you won't be overweight if you can't handle 20,000 pounds. I've got guys that can only handle 17 or 18,000 pounds, and that's fine. But for example, if that's the only really good paying load in the town you're in the part of the day you're in where you want to pick up, all right, and we can't guarantee that it's not going to be over 20,000 pounds, we can't take that load for you. So then maybe we have to put 2 partials together. You miss out on something. I have had in the past, instead of being able to haul 48,000 pounds on a full-size semi, I had a guy change some, I think he changed his rims and tire configuration, and it took him down to like 47.6. That was tough to book for, because then we had to get real specific. Because when you look, if you're now when we're doing our dedicated freight, it's not a big deal. We know what we're doing there. But when you get out into a part of the country that your dedicated freight takes you to and they don't have anything coming back, then you jump on a load board and maybe you get something coming back. Well, everything says it's 48,000 pounds. Then what do? Well, then you got to call each one and go, hey, you know, this guy can only handle 47.6. That gets kind of old. On the opposite side of that, I had a guy that could handle 50,000 pounds because he bought an ultralight trailer. So when you can handle 50,000 pounds as opposed to 48,000 pounds, you're one of the few that can, and you can charge a whole lot more money for just 2,000 extra pounds. And remember, you're still plated at 80,000 pounds. The trailer made up the difference in that weight. That guy made a whole lot more money than the 48,000 pound capacity trailers, just because he had that special ability to haul 2,000 more pounds. So I think that just about covers it. Again, I've had people ask, hey, what about a 38-foot trailer so I don't have to get rid of the bed on the truck? No, you really don't want to do that. You really want 40 feet of deck space. 38 feet is kind of an odd size. I really like to see 40 feet. A lot of people in Indiana run into length issues as far as their truck and trailer combo. And if that's the case, you see a lot of guys taking the bed off of their trailer to get to, I can't remember where this, 65 feet or something. Whereas if you're in Ohio and you can be 75 feet, let's say, and I'm just going off memory, these numbers could be wrong, but you don't have to take the bed off. And the reason is the DOT defines a truck as something with a bed that is capable of hauling property, okay? A tractor is something that's made to only be used with a trailer, a combination unit. So if you take the bed off of a truck, it looks more like a semi. A semi has a fifth wheel. It can only really haul property if it's on a trailer, so it being used in combination. When you have a tractor, which is like a semi-tractor, when you take the bed off your truck, it becomes a tractor, then you don't have to worry about the length restrictions. And again, a bed really doesn't make you any money. If you're shortening your trailer, it's actually costing you money because you don't have that linear footage on the trailer to put freight on. So at that point, I would say get rid of the bed and put a 40-foot trailer on there and make the extra money that way. I think that about covers it. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comment section. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos. Thanks.